In this video, we are going to go over some simple interest problems that demand that you find things other than finding interest. So we might be looking to find the principal, the rate, or the time. So let's start out with some of these problems and see just how well we can rock them together. So we've got that we've deposited $1,900 and that we earned $100 in simple interest at an annual rate of 1%. We're tasked with finding the number of years that you invested the money. Okay, so first things first, let's get our template down. We recognize that it's simple interest we're dealing with, so we should be using this formula. So before I even start the problem, I've got this idea in my head, and I'm going to write out the four variables, I, right, P, R, and T that are involved. And I'll take stock of what I have. That helps me to then basically make this into a nice formulaic problem, meaning a plug and chug variety. So we've got that interest we have. Well, actually, let's start out with what we deposit. We deposited $1,900. So that's our original amount, our principal. So I've got $1,900 goes here for P. Then we keep reading and it says that we earned $100 in simple interest. That was I. In previous problems, you've been solving for I. No sweat. Now we're going to be solving for something different at an annual rate of 1%. As always, with percentages, when we're doing calculations, we write it as a decimal. 1% is 0.01, moving the decimal point 2 places to the left. Then it says find the number of years you invested. Well, that would be a question mark here for T. So very simply, we're going to input our information, now that we've taken stock of what we have, into our formula. So I get I equals PRT. So I equals PRT. I is 100. That is equal to the principal being 1,900. I'm going to show this now without parentheses like I did in a previous video. 1,900 times the rate, which is 0.01, times the time. So what we should first do is let's simplify the multiplication on the right-hand side. Let's do that. We're just solving an equation now, by the way. It's nothing new. You're done with the new stuff. So 1,900 times 0.01 is going to be 19. So you get 100 is equal to 19 times T. Now we just need to undo multiplication by 19. So we divide both sides by 19. We verify that we have canceled out the multiplication part, so we're left with T, the time, and the decimal we get out is about 5.26. So how many years do we leave the money in? Well, if we're rounding to the nearest hundredth of a year, it would be roughly about 5.26 years. That's it. It's all about getting your setup and noticing that you're using the simple interest formula and taking stock of the info you have. Evaluate or plug that information into the problem and see that you have a normal equation that you can rock until you recognize, wow, this simple interest is not so bad. Let's do one more problem here before I switch to the second part of the video and show you a third problem. I'm going to cover all the different bases with simple interest. It says you earned $52 simple interest at a rate of 2.5% over 3 years. Find the principal. Okay, again, we have simple interest, so I know I have I equals P times R times T. So I'm going to take stock of the information I have. I equals P equals R equals and then T equals. So the interest, well, we have that. That's the first amount that we're given. We earned $52. It actually, at the end of the problem, said we were going to find the principal. So I don't have that. As we keep reading in order, it says the interest at a rate of 2.5%. Again, we're going to write that as a decimal, move the decimal point 2 places to the left. That is 0.025. Finally, we're going to invest that over 3 years. So T is in years. And now we have 3 variables that we have values for and one that we don't. Let's plug them in and solve. Okay, so we have that I is 52. Plugging in for I. The principal, we don't know, so we keep that as a variable P, times the rate, which is 0.025. Not so bad. Times the amount of time, which is 3. Nice. Now from here, it is a normal old equation. You're forgetting that it's simple interest for a moment and focusing on your algebra skills. So we're going to multiply what's going on the right-hand side. We get 52 is equal to 3 times 0.025 is 0.075. P times 0.075. Some people will want to write this as 0.075 times P. That's fine as well. Either way, we're now left with the opportunity to undo multiplication by 0.075. So we divide by 0.075 on both sides. Again, we're just solving a normal old equation. And definitely use a calculator for this once you verify that we've isolated P, the principal, which we have. And I've used a calculator and stored my number off the screen. So I get $693.33. So the principal is $693.33, which is the same as the original amount that you deposited. Stay tuned. On the other side of this video, we are going to be solving for, well, we solved for time and we've solved for principal, for rate. But I think you're going to see the problem and say, I got this in the bag. It's a lot like the other ones. So stay tuned. On the other side of the video, we'll complete it. And here we are on the other side of the simple interest video where we are solving for variables other than just the interest. So in this problem, we are going to finish off the video strong by figuring out the annual interest rate. So here we are told that we deposited $600 and earned $20 in simple interest over 2 years. What is the annual interest rate? Again, we notice the key terms such as simple interest tells us to use that formula right away. So I've got I equals PRT on the mind. I equals, there we go, PRT. And now from there, I'm going to take stock of the information that I have. I, P, R, and then T. Okay, well, the information that I have, I'm told that we deposited $600. So that's going to go under principal. And then we are told that we earned $20 in simple interest. So that is I for interest. Then we are told that we invested that money or put it into the bank for 2 years. So that would be the time. And then we're asked to find the annual interest rate. So the question mark goes with R. Sweet. Now we're just literally going to evaluate what we have into our equation, our formula, and solve. So I is 20. So we've got 20, that's for I, is equal to the principal, 600. So that's going to be 600 right here times the rate. I don't know what it is, so we'll let that be just R. And then the time is 2. Sweet. And I just put down T for 2 apparently. Let's put down 2 instead for a number. How about that? Okay, so we've got 2 times R times 600. Now, I don't like how this looks. I'm going to rearrange it so it's a nice, easy to solve equation, and I will do 2 times 600 using the commutative property of multiplication. So 20 is equal to 60 times 2, which is 1200R. And now we have a simple one-step equation where we will divide both sides to undo the multiplication. So I'll divide both sides by 1200. That makes that look like a little more like an R. And once we do that, the 1200s divide out, we're left with R, the rate, is equal to, certainly use a calculator to do 20 divided by 1200, and you'll get the decimal 0.01666666666, and so on and so forth. Now, that's the rate as a decimal. We want to give it as a percentage because that is how we express interest rates. So we move the decimal point once 2 places to the right, and you get I'll say roughly 1.7%. If we round to the nearest 1/10 of a percent, right? This 6 rounds up to a 7. That's all we've got, folks. So a video on simple interest and solving for P, R, and T. Sweet.